I'm very pleased to be able to share some of my ideas with you, even though now it's going to be something completely different. I am not really an expert on health tourism. I'll try to connect my topic with the topic of this conference. It is based on my new book, Empower Us from Crisis to Strategic Harmony, and the book is just right now in print, so you are among the few people to learn about the ideas from this book. Why do I call this presentation a wake-up call? Basically, it's not just because we are surrounded by COVID and pandemic and problems of that kind, but also for the last decade or so, we are surrounded by very interesting times. The military researchers call it the VACA times. Basically, we are surrounded by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, and we are experiencing the world in a very different way than we used to. Continuity is replaced by disruption, not just because we are getting sick by the virus, but because of technological changes, social changes, political changes. And this is what I'm going to talk about in my 15-minute slot that I have been given. In Zulu language, Vaka means to wake up. And in my view, that's a great situation for the mankind, for the human race, to be able to wake up. Whatever we do, are we in health tourism or in any other profession, we have to wake up and use the opportunity to change. I had a possibility to talk about this 1 week ago at the World Marketing Summit. So there I was talking to 500,000 people. I mentioned that because today you have a possibility to organize conferences for such huge audiences because they're online. Usually these conferences have been given to a group of 4,000 people or so. This year it was 500,000. Disruption is perceived by most people as a crisis. COVID-19 changes everything. GDP is falling down, employment rate is falling down, our habits are changing, we have to work from home, hospitality and travel industry are severely hit, we have to experience social distances. But disruption lasts for the last 50 years. Let me just remind you on some basic changes. 50 years ago, 15% of kids would be born out of the wedlock. This year, it's 70% in Iceland, 50% in neighboring Slovenia, 30% in Croatia. So family as an institution is losing ground. We don't trust governments anymore. As you see, the trust in governments dropped significantly. The same is with business leaders. We don't trust business leaders. The number dropped from 65 to 18% in 50 years. We don't trust media. We keep talking about fake media and fake news, and we are surrounded by a huge noise in the information area that make people misunderstand the world more than understand the world. At the same time, digital has started to rule the world. Zoom, I give my lectures on Zoom practically every day, and that company is worth the same amount of money as 7 top world airlines, and they have huge airplanes and a lot of physical equipment behind, and Zoom is just a piece of software. At the same time, we are surrounded by disrupted values. We have threats to health and survival. In my view, there are 2 pandemics right now, not just COVID, but pandemics of depression. Because in the developed world, when I was studying in the United States, there were 4% of people, elderly people, struck by depression. When I was teaching there at UCLA some 2 decades ago, it was 11%. Now it's 14%. So we have a global pandemic of depression. We have growing inequality. The richest 0.1% of people control 90% of private wealth. We are surrounded by political gridlock, corruption, distrust. You can win election if you have enough money. We no longer experience caring, compassion. No lives matter, not just black lives. Everything is on sale. Today you can buy position, you can buy power, job, love, justice, health, youth, sport results, even a verdict. Mass consumption culture has created a brainwashing environment in which the real values are really something that is left behind. Our social life gets distracted and destroyed, and we are surrounded by raising voices of people fighting for the rights of the women like Me Too, against weapons like Never Again, Black Lives Matter, and marginalized groups. Technological disruption is taking place at the same time. We have big data surrounding us, artificial intelligence, social networks. In health and tourism, you can experience robot receptionists as a consultant. I have introduced that in some companies. Virtual reality tourism, the film Social Dilemma describes very vividly what happens with the social networks and the alienation and problems that we are surrounded with. Next generation is really changing the world rapidly. You see 6 guys here, young people, they don't communicate, they spend most of their time on their mobile devices. According to Pew Research, 57% teenagers met a friend online, but only 1 out of 5 decided to meet this person in person. So new generations are alienated and they spend 4 to 5 hours per day on digital platforms. Disruption issues are very deep and not just pandemics. It affects health, tourism, and every other activity, and this is my point. Values and ethical compass are violated and broken. Exponential pace of change in technology is taking place, and we can solve any problem if we have enough money and time. But traditional management methods are overwhelmed. Modern managers cannot handle the volume of information and change, and they are unable, in principle, to basically run the change situations efficiently. Reaction cycle has shortened. Decisions must be done very fast. Like my friend Jack Welch would say, managers are either quick or dead. And we're surrounded by many institutions run by dead managers, not dead literally, but dead in managerial terms. And wherever we look around us, bureaucracy is standing in the way of innovation. So basically what I'm talking about is that the world is in a great situation to change the mindset. The COVID pandemic will put us in that position. Changing the mindset is important. Why? Let me share with you a brief story. Imagine there are 5 monkeys in a cage, and up there are bananas and a step ladder aside. And very quickly the monkeys will understand that if they push the step ladder in the middle, they will be able to climb and reach for the bananas. Once they do and they start doing it, you start sprinkling icy cold water on their backs. Why? To send them a message, don't go near the step ladder and don't climb for bananas. Now they will learn the lesson and they will change. They will stop doing it. You can close the icy cold water sprinkle, you don't need it anymore. Now you bring another monkey into the cage. This guy or girl will try to use the opportunity and start climbing the step ladder, but all other monkeys will prevent this animal. After a while, you'll probably have a bloody monkey and 4 wet monkeys in the cage, and nobody will touch the step ladder. Imagine you bring another monkey. Now you have a dry monkey, 1 bloody monkey, and 3 wet monkeys. The new monkey will try to use the opportunity, and everybody will try to, as Americans would say, pardon my language, beat their asses. And it will end up like this. If you replace all the 5 monkeys with 5 newcomers who have never experienced icy cold water, what will the newcomers do? They will never touch the step ladder. They will never dare to climb up. Why? Because they have learned the lesson how you behave in an organizational environment. This is a sad story about the culture. I use it as a consultant to describe organizational culture. I use it to describe family culture to my kids. I use it to describe national culture, global culture. A pandemic is a very rare situation where we can question our culture, we can question our values, and we can try to replace them with better values. At the same time, we must be aware that change is very difficult. My favorite book, one of my favorite books, is Change or Die by Alan Deutschman. He describes an interesting thing in his book. Imagine you come in front of a doctor and he says you're dead unless you're willing to change. You have to change what? You have to quit smoking, stop drinking, stop eating fat and sweets. You have to start exercising, and then you will be healthy. The research shows the research study shows that only 1 out of 6 people will really change. What will happen with others? 2 will try to change, but after a while they will give up. They will go back to the cigarettes, to alcohol, to the drugs, whatever. 3 out of 6 will even never try. They will just search for excuses. So this is the story about our capability to change. Our propensity to change, our ability to change is very low. everybody will usually say, I'm all for change, but don't change me, change somebody else. This is a very important idea because when we are talking about global change and the future of the health, tourism, and every other activity, there is a need to change the mindset. Why? Because mindset is based on values, what we believe in. And our values dictate our behavior. We behave accordingly. And then the outcomes are the result of our behavior and our values. So if we dislike the outcomes, if we are displeased with health tourism or political situation or economic situation or family situation or whatever, we have to deal with values first. The key problem in our book, because I have a co-author, Ira Kaufman, who is an American, is the fact that we live in a disharmonious world. Our world is filled with a lack of harmony. Basically, our crisis is an opportunity. And this is how I perceive crisis in general. In Chinese, you express the word crisis with two ideograms. The first one is opportunity, and the second one is challenge or danger. So crisis is at the same time a danger and opportunity. And if we look at COVID crisis as an opportunity, we can change everything, starting tomorrow or starting today. So basically in our book, we are talking about strategic harmony as the post-COVID mindset. It's important for any type of human activity. Strategic harmony is an idea for all stakeholders. Are you in health, tourism, as a manager or worker, or you want to deal with your individual problems or your team, your family, your organization, your community, nation, the continent, even the globe and its ecological problems and health problems, you have to look at it from the harmonious point of view. What is strategic harmony? Basically, it's a search for internal harmony. First, we have to find a balance inside ourselves. Then it's organizational harmony, harmony with our environment, harmonious democratic systems, political environments, economy, harmonious tourism, health tourism. In search for harmony is basically based on 5 H's. What we think with our head, what we do with our hands, what we feel with our heart. Is it aligned with our hope, the purpose that we are doing something? And is it all harmonious? In our book, we are talking about test values. Test values are the key for the success in anything you do, including the health and tourism. First of all, we need trust. We need trust as the key ingredient in everything we do. As we have seen, trust is very destroyed as a value in society. The second value is empathy. The third is sustainability. We have to fight for the world in which we live sustainable life. And the last one is transparency. Transparency is a possibility to use modern technologies in such a way to share all the information and make it transparent. If I had more time, I could go into details. I just want to make you think a little bit about the new values and the potential that the crisis holds in itself. How can you turn it into something practical? Our book is based on a model that is oriented towards managers and people. So first you test your mindset. You search for the new values to be part of your everyday life, no matter what you do. Then you test your organizational culture. You try to teach yourself as a monkey and other monkeys in the cage that they are able to change, and then we can change our values and introduce new and better values. Then you can test your business model and see how trustful it is, how much empathy is there, how transparent it is, and does it take care of sustainability. Then you can test your execution strategy, your day-to-day operation, as well as your sustainable impact. If we had more time, now I would go through 10 steps of or 10 rules of the post-COVID mindset. I will just mention 2, but that's a list. First of all, we need to change managers. Managers should become catalysts, or we call them catalyzers. Catalyzers are people who are able to bring change quickly. They are not bureaucrats who fight for change in a very slow and tedious and boring way. They are change agents. Trust and transparency are number 1 on my list. Here is my friend Jack Welch, who was proclaimed the manager of the 21st century with his wife Susie, and my wife Anna is on the picture as well. Lack of candor is the dirtiest little secret in business, is what Jack Welch said. It's true for health tourism, it's true for politics, it's true for anything you do. But at the same time, we are not surrounded by trust. We live in a distrustful environment. And we have to change this value. If we want the world to survive, if we want all the activities to prosper and to develop, we have a unique opportunity to turn our crisis into a possibility to introduce more trust. The second on the list is empathy. Empathy is traditionally considered to be a weakness of modern managers. If you say this manager is filled with empathy, then you look at this guy or this girl as somebody who is not really a good manager. He's too weak and unable to perform his job. But in principle, empathy today is the key source of success. And empathy tomorrow must become the key value in our environment if we want to restore harmony. Recently, Harvard Business School is basing their education and teaching on empathy. They have developed Global Empathy Index as a means to measure empathy and compare companies depending on how much empathy they are able to express. Empathy is our ability to step into other people's shoes and look at the world from other people's perspectives. That's why empathy is very important. I have tried to use my 15 minutes just to make you think about the world that can be different and the values that are important not just for health tourism but for all other activities. And in the meantime, we have to work very hard. If we don't work hard, nothing will happen. I always talk to my colleagues or my students or as a consultant, even to members of my family, I share with them this particular slide. You will be successful because you're lucky, but you will never be successful unless you are ready to work long hours. Basically, this is what I wanted to share with you, and I hope that I have at least helped you shake a little bit your head and consider the possibilities of the future that can the COVID crisis bring and the chances that we have to make the world a much better place and a much more pleasant and much more harmonious in our life and in our profession.